What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Black Lightning, the series premiere, Season 1, Episode 1, The Resurrection. And as the title of this episode says, it is the resurrection of Black Lightning. Yeah, I wasn't really sure what to expect coming into this. It's a new superhero show on the CW. Chances are it may tie into the Arrowverse a little bit, possibly. I'm still not sure, maybe he's on a different Earth, kind of like how Supergirl was at first. Maybe he's on the same Earth, just completely different city. I guess we'll see going forward if they're going to tie him in with the rest of them at all, or if it's just going to be its own separate thing for now. But yeah, based on the previews that I've seen, I wasn't really sure if I was going to be able to get into this or not. I do enjoy a good superhero show, but there are some that can tend to be a little bit isolated, I guess. And what I mean by that is kind of similar if you look at Supergirl. Supergirl is very, very much a all about women's rights type of show. That seems to be its main thing. And that it doesn't seem to be doing anything else except pandering to women. Pandering to girls who just want to see relationship stuff and stuff like that. The action kind of comes secondhand. Looking at this one, it kind of felt like maybe they were going to be talking a lot more about, black rights and how they're oppressed and stuff like that. And I, obviously, not being a woman can't really relate to Supergirl, and not being black can't really relate to Black Lightning. So, I don't know. I was kind of hoping coming into this that if they are going to focus on that, if they are going to talk about that side of things, that it's a bit more subtle than Supergirl has been with the whole women's stuff. Yeah, because it's just like smacking in your face, like, girl power is awesome. I was hoping coming into this, maybe they're not going to be as in your face with it. Maybe they're going to show certain things, that will get the word out there, but it's a bit more subtle and can show a good superhero show while still, getting its message across, which I don't mind if they want to do that. But based on this first episode, it's only the first episode, maybe it'll get better. But based on this first episode, it's very clear it's not going to be subtle about it at all. Like every single cop in the show is racist. They're talking about, how, look, all these other heroes in other cities are praised for being heroes, and then this guy is called a vigilante. Oh, it's because he's black, is it? I'm like, no, Oliver Queen is called a vigilante several times in the past, The only, Barry Allen is probably the only one, well, Supergirl too, but they already had Superman. Arrow has not really been liked at all as far as superheroes are concerned. Black Lightning is not alone in this whole, he's considered a vigilante column. So it's stuff like that. It's not subtle at all. And I don't know, I don't like that. I wish they could be a bit more subtle, get their message across, but not so slap in your face and treating us all like idiots, like we can't see what they're trying to say. So that is a problem I do have with it. Maybe it'll get better as the series goes along. But that's one of the things that did bother me about this first episode. One of the other things that bothered me is some of the casting decisions. The guy that plays Black Lightning, not a bad choice. I've seen him in a couple other things, and he's pretty good. The wife, or his ex-wife, she's also a good choice. I've seen her in some other things. She's a good actress. But then you got his younger daughter. She's Disney Channel products. She's not bad, it's just not good. And then, the worst one of all, they've got Damon Gupton, who was on Criminal Minds for one season and was just awful. And he's the same here. It's no change in his voice at all, there's no inflection. He is just so monotone. He talks like this a lot, and that's about all you get out of him. It doesn't really ever seem to change, and how he just seems to have no reaction at all, and it's bizarre to me how you can cast a robot in what should be the part of a human. I'm just like, why did you get him? What does he bring? I don't understand. So I'm not looking forward to him being on the show. The girl from Disney Channel, maybe it'll get better, but in this first episode, the writing for her has not been good either. That's also been part of the problem. And then the older daughter, she's been kind of hit and miss. There are a couple things that I did like about her character, a couple things that I didn't. So I guess let's talk about the story for this first one. We see right off the bat Black Lightning. I think his first name is Jefferson. They said his name a few times in the episode, but as you guys know, I'm terrible with names, and I looked on IMDb and his name wasn't on there. But he has to go get his oldest daughter. I think her name is Anessa. I think. I can't remember which one's Anessa. I want to say the older one is. But he has to go get her out of jail because apparently she was protesting the 100, which is apparently like this gang that's kind of running the streets or something. So she was protesting that, and that's pretty much the first part of her character that I didn't like. She's very much that kind of character that's very politically spoken, and just that seems to be everything she wants to talk about. Whenever it gets around to that topic, she seems to be like very, oh, we need to do this and we need to do this. I will say it's not as bad as some other characters I've seen where literally everything they had to say, like Cat Grant was one example where it felt like she just had to throw in political statements every other line. I'm just like, okay, come on. This is getting a little ridiculous. She's not that bad, but yeah, she does get quite political at times, and she wants to try to, stand up for what she believes in when sometimes it's just best to say, all right, forget what they're saying. Sometimes what people say do not matter. Just move on. So that is a problem with her character, but we also see she's also the older sister who is actually very right in a lot of what she has to say to her younger sister in this episode. Her younger sister's that typical character that just wants to be the brat of the family, wants to go out and do her own thing. Oh, I'm going to go to a dangerous club where I know dangerous people congregate. Oh, there's that random guy that sees me, and oh, I'm going to check him out because he's cute. And oh, now I'm in trouble because of all of that stuff that I did because it was stupid. So she's very much that character that you just kind of want to smack and be like, you're an idiot. You're doing everything you shouldn't do. You want to try to be different, and, I want to do my own thing, but that makes you just like every other character in in TV. It feels like you're just that cliche character now. So whenever the older sister has to deal with her, those scenes I thought she did a very good job with, and the writing on her was better there too, because it really did feel like she cared about her, but because the mom's not really in the picture as much, which I don't understand quite the family dynamic there yet, it feels like they had a relationship, but then she got upset with him being Black Lightning and felt like, you've got to stop this. And so he did stop, and he became a principal, and yet they're still separated. So I don't really understand that side of it. It feels like, he's talking about how they have joint custody, and she's like, it hasn't been joint custody for a long time. So clearly they've been staying with her father more. But anyway, based on that, it feels like she's kind of having to be the mother figure to her younger sister because the mom's not really in the picture. I want to understand that family dynamic more, though. I feel like there's got to be a reason why the mom's not as involved as she should be. Does she have a job somewhere that she's constantly working? Maybe, I don't know, maybe she's just not as attentive a mother as she should be. Whatever the case, that causes the older sister to have to be very motherly, and she does a good job at portraying that relationship. I've seen in other family dynamics where you do have that older sibling that kind of has to step in to be the parent for the younger because one of the parents isn't around. And I thought they handled that very well. So the family dynamic has its moments, but also has some very poor moments where I feel like, like I said, the younger sister going to the club, trying to do all this dangerous stuff and just being very cliche with it. Just like, come on, this is kind of dumb. But we see, because the younger sister wants to go all be, independent and be her own thing, she goes to this dangerous club where she ends up, like I said, meeting a random guy who just gives her the eyes, and she's all like, oh, he's cute. And then goes and sits with him, and then the guy gets dragged in because apparently he owes some money, and then tries, the guy who he owes money to tries to get him to get the younger sister to work at a hotel, as an escort. And I'm just like, really? Like, it was very clear from that opening scene. It's just like, this is gonna be strange, whatever's going on here. This guy that she meets, I can't even remember his name now, but it's the guy with the afro, kind of an afro. But yeah, he meets this random girl, and then he owes some money, and he just met her and tried to talk to her because he wanted to use her to pay off his debt. I'm just like, wow, what? Is this the bad guy for the season? And he's not the bad guy. He's just kind of a random bad guy for the season. But yeah, so she, of course, steps in and says, no, that's not going to happen. She decks him in the stomach. And about that time, that's when Jefferson walks in and tries to get in to see his daughter, and then the guy pulls out a gun. He turns on his black lightning powers, takes on everybody, and then it disappears before his daughter can see him, so she leaves. And then that's when he goes outside, and some random cops are there. And this is where, once again, they could have been subtle with the whole, like, hey, oh, get down, you get on the ground right now, very hesitant of him because, the racial undertones, but no, they've got to make it so over the top, where the cops are like, get your black ass on the ground. I'm like, ugh. Don't get me wrong, there may be some cops that say that, but for this show where you want to try to be subtle with that stuff so it's not smacking people over the head with it, that's a little over the top. So yeah, he gets hit with the taser gun, and of course because he's Black Lightning, electricity doesn't affect him, and so he grabs it and does this cool little like electricity whip effect and knocks them both to the ground, blows up their car, and then walks away. And so of course all these reports are being thrown around about Black Lightning returning. The wife, or the ex-wife, thinks about this and is upset, and he of course doesn't show her the bullet wound that he got at the club. But this is all culminating to the fact that the guy that tried to get his daughter sold off as an escort shows up at the school to talk to her again. And it's kind of weird because at this point he's trying to be all like, hey, I just want to make sure we were cool, we all right. I'm just like, what is he doing now? It was clear to me at the club that he was trying to befriend her, kind of get her attention, charm her so that he could use her. But now it feels like he's actually trying to make up for what he did. I'm just like, you really think that's gonna work when you tried to sell her off? Come on, dude. Like, you're not that stupid, are you? And then all of a sudden the older sister steps in, hits him, flips him, and I'm just like, oh, okay, apparently she can fight. I wasn't aware that was a thing. But then he tries to pull out a gun, and that's when Jefferson steps in. He's the principal of the school, and he convinces him not to pull out the gun. And then he walks away. But what confuses me is it feels like they have cameras all over the school. You said that. He said there are cameras all over here. So I assume they have security, and we saw the security as well. But in the next scene, we see the guy returning to the school with two henchmen, and they just easily walk into the school, take the two sisters, and then walk out with no sort of resistance. Cameras? Security? Apparently not a thing anymore. It was there in that one scene. They were instantly on the scene whenever he was trying to, pull out his gun and trying to fight the two sisters, and then all of a sudden, not there anymore. Whenever he needs to kidnap the two sisters, it's like you couldn't have them taken like on their way home or something. Like maybe they get out to the parking lot and he's waiting there for them. But to have them waltz into the school kind of makes me feel like that's inconsistent with what we saw earlier. So that is a problem. We also see in a scene right before this, Jefferson goes to talk to, his name is Lala. Apparently he went to the school that Jefferson, I couldn't tell if he was saying he went to school where Jefferson was the principal, or if he went to the school where Jefferson was also a student, maybe? I don't know what their age difference is. But he goes to talk to this guy named Lala, and he's the guy that was asking for the other guy's debt to be collected. And so he's just like, look, he's trying to mess with my daughter. I'm going to need you to back off. And he apparently didn't get to talk to that guy in time because the very next scene is kidnapping her. But what was weird about this scene to me is I kind of felt like maybe they were going to go in a direction to show that, the gang that they're talking about, I think the gang is the 100 that he's a part of. I was kind of wondering if maybe they're going to go in a direction of not everybody in the gang is bad. And, maybe this guy seemed like he was actually a pretty decent guy. And I'm just like, okay, this might be interesting, having somebody a part of the gang, and they're not necessarily a bad person. They're wrapped up in it, and they're doing stuff because they feel like it's what's best. But then all of a sudden, like out of nowhere, he's talking to this kid who comes up, and he's just like, hey, he's like, that's not how we talk to him. Do it right. And then he's all like, nice to meet you. My name is whatever. I hope you have a good day. And she's like, see, that's how we do it. He's like, hey, get over here. And he grabs him close. He's like, I heard you were playing on your phone all day yesterday. You were playing video games. I told you to do your best, and you better. And he's like gripping his arm like really hard and like hurting him. And I'm just like, okay, so he's evil then. It's very simple. No sort of like moral dilemma. We're just making this very simple. Everybody that's a part of this gang is just an evil bastard. Good to know. So I don't know. I feel like that was a wasted opportunity to do something interesting with this character. But by the end of it, whenever he goes and sees this guy, Tobias, and the guy shoots him with like a harpoon and then reels him in, I don't feel bad for him at all because I'm like, yeah, you're kind of evil. But anyway, so we get back to the sisters being kidnapped. Obviously, Jefferson is all like, all right, I got to suit up again because I got to go save them. So he does. He goes and saves them. Tries to find out where Lala is because he feels like, this isn't right, what you did. I asked him to keep my daughter safe and he didn't, so, I got to get to him. But he can't find out where he is, and two of Tobias's people come and get Lala and take him to Tobias, who then shoots him with a harpoon gun and says, you better take care of this because I killed Black Lightning and now you got to do it. On Tobias, first of all, there was a scene earlier where Black Lightning is talking to this old guy who I guess is kind of like his Alfred, Oracle, Felicity, helper person. I assume we'll get to know more about him going forward. But yeah, he's talking to him, and he's just like, we need Black Lightning back. And he's just like, look, Black Lightning was here for a few things. To kill Tobias, to save the people, to do this, da-da-da. So I assumed, considering the fact that he said Black Lightning was formed to kill Tobias, I assumed that Tobias was dead, and yet Tobias is still around. I'm not sure where this is going. They are showing like little flashbacks. I don't know if this is based off of another show that previously happened, and if some of this stuff that they're talking about is from that show, or if they're just making up their own lore that they're going to show in flashbacks here and there. That is one thing that I will say I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm also not saying it's good yet. I'm still not sure where they're going with it. It's just all of this previously stuff on Black Lightning. I can't tell what exactly the point of all of this is. If it's maybe some of it's being kept in mystery because we don't know yet and we're going to find out later. If that's what they're going for, then I think they're doing a good job because some of it is kind of vague and I'm just kind of like, well, what's going to happen? But if all of this is based off of like another show and they're bringing it back or something, then I would probably say, okay, this is kind of dumb because I don't know what that show's about. So you can't just be like, oh yeah, previously we did this on this show. You got to show me some stuff. You can't just talk about it and expect me to be like, oh yeah, I remember that because I totally watched that. I will say it is interesting in the respect that we're having a show where this isn't really an origin story, it's a returning story. It's a guy who used to be a superhero and then stopped, and now he's trying to be a superhero again. That is pretty interesting. It's not something that I think I've ever seen before in a superhero show. Most of the time, there are superheroes that are either starting to become superheroes or it's actually an origin story where we see them get their superpowers. So yeah, I do enjoy that side of it, and I hope that they utilize that well and they do give us enough information to kind of find out what happened when he was previously Black Lightning. But last thing to talk about is apparently the older daughter has powers. Again, something that I don't know if... I mean, I've seen it before, but to start off a series with it, with you got your main hero returning as a superhero, and then also you find out one of his kids is also got superpowers. Not really sure what her powers are. We see her like freaking out because of what happened, kind of like PTSD type thing. She wakes up from a nightmare, and then she's like gripping the sink, and she's like freaking out, and all of a sudden her hand starts glowing red, and she just like rips the sink off, and it's just like, okay, she's got super strength. Now, is that why she was able to take down that one guy? Is it because she does have powers, or has she been taking like some sort of defense class? Or I want to know why she was able to take down that guy so easily, because we didn't really see her hand glowing or anything in that scene, and it felt like she knew how to fight. So I'll be curious to see if they explain that part of it. But yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see what's going to happen next. Again, I'm hoping that the whole like racial stuff going on, I hope they make that a bit more subtle going forward, because I've got no problem with wanting to sort of stand on some sort of moral compass. I got no problem if you want to preach something, but I feel like if you are trying to do a superhero show, that doesn't need to be your main focus. It doesn't need to be something like what happened in this episode where it's smacking people over the head with it. Like, hey, this is going on in the world. This is what's happening. Look at it. Look at it. Feel bad for what you've done. I don't want to feel like that. Supergirl has done this very much the same thing with the whole women's rights stuff. It's done a very poor job of trying to get the message across about women's rights in a way that is entertaining for everybody. They've made it very much okay, this is stuff that only women can really enjoy. So I really hope going forward that they can focus on the superhero stuff, give us a good superhero show, and if they want to continue talking about this moral dilemma in the world, about racial stuff, about blacks and whites and all that stuff, if you want to do that part of it alongside it, that's great, that's fine. But don't make it so obvious and so over the top that it just detracts from everything else and it becomes very slap in the face type of stuff. So that's all I've got to say about it. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on this first episode? What do you think about it going forward? Let me know. We can talk about it and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Black Lightning reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.